Obviously garnered a lot of interest, and I knew it would. I've been talking to people probably for 10 years about this project. I probably talked to most of you, and we're excited that it's here. It's going to be a little bit rough getting through construction, but I think we're going to have a nice end product that I think everyone's going to be proud of. My name is Brent Bache. I'm the city engineer, if I haven't spoken with you before. With us, we have the mayor and Councilman Shannon right here. City Manager Mark Vanderpool. This is Chuck Hart from HRC. HRC was hired by us to do the design work and a lot of the administrative work. Also, I'd like to point out we have Sergeant Dave Guerrera who shows up, and Battalion Chief Mark Daughtry. So thank you guys for coming as well. If you guys have any questions along the line in relation to PD or FD, feel free to catch them in a little bit. I also have some engineering staff, Scott Sharon from our office, a staff engineer, and our construction manager, Adam LeClaire. So, well, to get that out of the way, our meeting format, I want to give a brief presentation on what to expect with the project. After that, we'll do some questions and answers. And then as we did before, we can do just some one-on-one. I got an aerial out here that shows all the site improvements and over what's existing, so we can go over if you have individual questions, any specific questions, feel free to hit any of us up anytime for your parcel. So, like I said, this project started, we started thinking about this a long time ago. 2013, we were able to secure federal funding for it. So it'll be about an $8 million construction job, and over 80% of it is financed with federal dollars. So it's been a big effort to get this funded, and we're happy to get there. The existing conditions of Dodge Park, a lot of you are aware of it. It's a 2-lane asphalt pavement. It's striped as 2 lanes. Through the years, there's been widenings, concrete widenings. It's kind of a hodgepodge of a road. You have some sections with curb and gutter. You have some sections with a gravel shoulder, and some sections with ditching. So it's kind of a hodgepodge as you drive through. We have 3 signalized intersections. One was at 16 Half Mile Road, one at 17 Mile Road, one at Plumbrook Road. So those intersections are currently hung with wires, so they're kind of outdated signalization. So if you go to the next slide, Scott. As a project overview, we're going to start with the pavement will be a 3-lane concrete pavement. So what that'll entail is we'll have a dedicated northbound lane, a dedicated southbound lane, and a dedicated center turn lane. So as you know now, there's no center turn lane except at the intersections. I think to have a dedicated turn lane throughout this project, SOAP will increase. It'll make it a safer road for one. You won't have all the traveling and trying to detour around. It also help the through lanes maintain a steady flow of traffic. So it'll be a 3-lane concrete pavement. We also have a 10-foot wide shared use path. Part of our master plan has been to make streets now a complete streets, meaning we're not just improving the roadway, we're improving the walkability, the rideability. Dodge Park was identified as a major corridor that can tie into Dodge Park. You can tie into the schools. There's a little commercial area, so it's a major corridor that sees a lot of walkability, rideability. We also have the fantastic parade, as you all know. So it was dedicated to, we tried to design this as a complete street to address all types of users. We were fortunate enough to get the 10-foot wide shared use path covered under the federal dollars, as well as the new bridge over the Plumbrook Drain on the east side of Dodge Park Road over the Plumbrook Drain. So it's going to be an exciting improvement. When we're done, we'll have either the sidewalks or the path on both sides of the street, all the way from Metro Parkway up to Utica Road. So the path will start actually at Metro Parkway, go up to 17 Mile Road, cut over at 17 Mile Road, and then continue north on the west side from 17 to Utica Road. And the remainder of, if there's a sidewalk gap, we're going to fill those in as well. We'll also be replacing, if there's existing concrete sidewalks that are faulty, we'll be replacing those faulty sidewalks as well. The signalization will have mast arms. I'm sure you've all seen on Van Dyke. The signals are placed on, what you'll see is black metal poles. These will be similar, but they will be not quite as large, a smaller diameter, and they'll have more of a decorative look. So they'll have more of an arc on the arm. They'll be painted black, but I think it'll be a very nice feature. And the signals will be upgraded with vehicular detection. It'll be modernized signalization. We'll also be putting new landscaping up and down the corridor. And at the intersection, we'll have colored and stamped, actually, concrete crosswalks to add to the aesthetics of the area. I'd like to now turn it over to Chuck Hart, who's going to go through a lot of the project details that you guys are probably wondering and about the reason why you're here. Chuck.
Thank you, Brent. Did you want any of your stuff? Okay. Well, thank you for having me here. Again, my name's Chuck Hart. I'm actually very excited about the project. I live right down the road, and not very often do I get an opportunity to work on a project that's that close to my home and something I use all the time. So as the engineering consultants, what we try and do is we're looking to make this road improvement, and we want to make this something sustainable. We've all been hearing a lot of information about how do we get our roads to last. Well, the biggest thing is drainage. It's one of the biggest culprits to our roadways. So part of this project is stormwater improvements. We're enclosing the drainage. You may see, with the shoulders, you get a lot of standing water. Those are all going to be cleaned up. We'll have new drains and outlets for the roadway. All the driveways will be replaced with concrete. And anybody who has a parking area that's out near the roadway, that's going to be replaced with concrete as well. Couple other aspects of the project, right at the Plum Brook Drain, the existing pedestrian bridge that's on the west side is going to be rehabilitated. We're going to put a new deck on it and touch that up, just routine maintenance, but we don't want to come back out and be in this area doing any more disruption than we need to. And with that in mind, the city also moved up some improvements on the vehicular bridge as well, so there's going to be some deck repairs, some work to what looks like a sidewalk area along the edges, and we'll have some new guardrail and safety treatments, north and south of the drain crossing. I'm sure many of you have noticed the utility poles that have been out there. That's a big part of our project. You'll see projects get delayed with utility conflicts, so we've been working on that for well over a year. Detroit Edison is out there setting new poles. Our real goal here is to not build a new roadway that looks great and then have all this spaghetti overhead wires when we're done. So we're really trying to consolidate how many poles there are, have a nice linear look to it. We did talk with Detroit Edison and some of the other users as to what it would take to put those underground, and it's an astronomical cost and effort to do that. So it was considered, but for a corridor like this, it really is something that's just far outside the budget. So Edison will be setting new poles. AT&T has some poles out there as well. They'll be moving a few of those, and you'll also notice that Consumers Energy is going to be out. They're replacing their gas main that's along the corridor. So for those who live right on Dodge Park, you may have a gas service that goes out to that main. Consumers will be in touch with those homeowners. You should get advance notice in terms of any shutdowns. And then they'll also make contact to ensure any pilots and for your water heaters and furnaces to make sure those are operational when they're done. So they should be making those contacts, and you'll see them start working soon. We expect that to continue into the spring so that they can get their gas main out of the way for a lot of the proposed improvements we have. Getting into some of the things I'm sure a lot of people are interested in is how is access going to be maintained for the project. And before we get into some of the details of it, emergency access is always going to be maintained. We've been working closely with fire and police to explain what kind of routes, where we're going to have closures, to make sure that there's no drop in their service and response times. Those with mailboxes along the corridor, what's typical of a project like this is we'll use a kind of a gang box. So they'll try and consolidate them to make sure they're accessible to all the residents. That's something that would be communicated during the construction project. Just touching on that, the city is going to have representatives on site throughout the project, and the contractor is going to have an emergency contact number. So people living along the route, you're really going to get to know those people. You're going to see them all the time. When there's access issues, obviously if they're pouring a concrete driveway, you won't be able to drive on it. So these are the guys that are going to put door hangers out. So make sure you're checking your front door. They'll come and knock, put a hanger on it. And those are ways we'll try and communicate to let you know that, hey, we might be doing something right in front of your driveway. And speaking of that, one of the biggest things we like to get input on in meetings like this is any special access needs. We want to make sure that anybody has difficulty moving, needs to have close access to their doorway. We need to know that, and that's just really helpful for us to make sure that we're planning for it during construction. We don't want to try and make someone walk, 1,000 feet if they're having a very difficult time with that. So that's some input we definitely want to receive. Mail, so that's your mail service and refuse and recycling. We'll obviously be maintaining those services. The city's going to send out a notice to all the residents along the project. That notice will make mention we'll request that you don't use garbage cans. We'd rather see the bags just put out. There's quite a few reasons. One being it's very difficult to keep track of whose cans are what. The contractor will help put those in locations that they can be accessible, but your service will remain uninterrupted. It just might change a little bit, and again, you can expect a lot of communication from the people on the project to be working with you on that. So on to the maintaining traffic for the project and what to expect. I design roads for a living. It's what I love to do. My family loves to complain to me about how bad we make traffic all the time. A project like this, to get done in one construction season, does have an impact to everybody. It's through traffic, is going to be detoured. It's the local residents. It's going to be inconvenient. It'll be dusty, and there's going to be some noise. So you can expect that. I don't want to say it's going to be great. It's going to be a challenge. But to construct an $8 million project in one season, it's just one of the trade-offs that's necessary to get that done. So some of you may know we're going to stage the project in halves, basically. It's a little bit, not quite at the half point. We're going to build from Metro Parkway to south of 17 Mile first. So that's going to start at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the spring, and carry into July. Second phase of the project is 17 Mile up to Utica. We're going to maintain southbound access throughout the project. Northbound traffic will be detoured, mostly just to Shaner. After the meeting, if you guys have interest, we've got a detour map. We'd be happy to kind of walk through that. The main detour that we've got posted is how we're going to accommodate the northbound traffic. There's also impacts to 17 Mile, Plumbrook, and your other intersections. We're proposing to close Plumbrook when that's constructed. That's going to probably be closed for a short duration. As part of our contract, we put a limit as to how long that they can do that work. The way we build a project like this to maintain traffic, we kind of build it in what we call half widths. So you build one side, then you put traffic over on that side, and then you go and build the other side. So at Plumbrook, that's going to be closed for about 2 weeks at 2 different times when we build that half of the intersection. But we did put some significant restrictions on the contractor to make sure once he starts impacting that intersection, he's got to be done within a certain amount of time. 17 Miles is going to be maintained during the project. There will be durations where we have to maintain a westbound only, and so we have a short-term detour when that happens. And that's something that we can walk through. Anybody that has questions, we've got a plan for that. Okay. So I guess to try and illustrate this a little bit, I apologize, it may be a little bit difficult to read. It's just kind of a visual of what I was explaining before. So that shows how we're going to build the east side of Dodge Park first, and we're going to, the second part, we'll be building the west side. And this first stage is the Metro Parkway to just south of 17 Mile. You can click to so while this is going on, we're going to maintain both northbound and southbound traffic from Utica to 17 Mile. So we're going to try and limit the detours and the disruption as much as we can. Next slide, please. So the second stage of the project is building the 17 Mile intersection north up to Utica. Same thing, we're going to build the east side of the road, shift over, build the west side of the road. Northbound traffic will be allowed from Metro Parkway to Plumbrook, and then the detour for northbound will be using Plumbrook. Okay, next please. So onto the schedule for the project. You can see the utility relocations that are ongoing right now. We expect those to go in through the spring with the idea we want them all out of the way before we start the majority of our road work. Bids are going to be opened this Friday. That's when we're going to know who our contractor is going to be, and all the contractual things will start up. and with that bid opening date, with the federal aid, that would get us a construction start date in the middle to late March. So that's when you'll see some of the road contractors' equipment and a lot of that work's going to get going. So the first stage that I explained from Metro Parkway to south of 17 is going to start right away, late March, and that's going to go through late July. We intend to have the pedestrian bridge, the new bridge, built by the end of July, and stage 2 construction from 17 Mile Road to Utica will start first week of August. And the project is going to take what we call our construction season. It's going to take the full season. That's typically around the middle of November. Landscaping work, we're going to have restoration will be happening throughout the project in terms of grass and getting seed or sod down. But planting the trees, we really want to do that in the fall. It's when things take better, so you can expect to see that late in the year. And then our goal and the plan is to have this project open to traffic the middle of November. So one of the things Brent had mentioned, that's a typical illustration, you know, what the mast arms will look like. They're a little bit more decorative. They're not that big black utilitarian look that you may have seen on Van Dyke that's been recently done. It's a little bit smaller scale, but it will be a mast arm configuration instead of the wires hanging over. We're also, that's what the colored and stamped concrete crosswalks will look like. That's planned at 16.5 Mile, Plumbrook, and 17 Mile.
Do the mast arms make the wind better or less well than the wire?
In theory, they handle it the same, but they don't swing. And the mast arms are designed to withstand some absurd winds that we typically don't see in Michigan. But there's some federal regulations that they're substantial, and the wind load's doesn't affect them. One other aspect of the project is to improve the corridor's appearance overall. So the city's done a great job of working towards a uniform enhancement, and especially the key corridor here with City Hall and the schools and the importance of Dodge Park. We felt, and the city supported, really was a great idea to get this planted. So you'll see some tree removals happening now. Those are because of some of the Edison poles. We do have some other tree removals that are required for our project. The goal is to get back and really landscape this and make it look nice. So if anyone's interested in seeing some of the detailed plantings, there's an illustrative example up here that Brent had mentioned. And on our plans, we actually have a detailed plan. So if you're interested in, hey, what type of tree might be planted right here, feel free to come up after and we can talk you through that and explain what's proposed. Through here is just a few of the trees that we're looking to plant. One idea is you see with the ash borer and some Dutch elm diseases, what you don't want is to plant the same tree up and down the corridor, because if something happens, you lose all your trees. So mixing it up will provide a nice variety, a very nice aesthetic look, and a good balance. So these are just some samples of some of the specific species that we're proposing with the project. So if you're interested, feel free to come up and we can show you what we're looking at. Okay.
Ask questions while you're doing it.
Sure. We can do them at the end, but yeah, I have no problem with that.
The last one was crabapple. Excuse me for lack of remembering, is there a fruit on a crabapple? And will that like stain the sidewalks and give kids stuff to throw? As opposed to the evergreens and the deciduous that don't do those two things?
Well, I'm a road designer, I will say that, so planting trees is not my specialty. We did have our arborist at the office help with the planting plan. I don't know if they have fruit. I think they do. So that's definitely a good comment. And to that effect, we definitely want to get everybody's comments. That's one of the big reasons we have these meetings. So if there's something you want us to consider, you want to talk with the city about, make sure you either come see us or leave us a note or contact any of us via email off the city's website. So we would definitely want to address anything like that we can.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there's a few more plantings if you're interested in coming to see them. The presentation is going to be posted on the city's website. So we have a few copies, but if you're interested, you will be able to view that. I guess we're just about done. If you guys want to wait for a couple of questions, I'll turn it over to Brent to kind of close this up.
Are there plans to improve the street light?
Yes, that was. I'm sorry. That was one of the things I did want to touch on. The decorative lighting that's up at Utica with the roundabout, that's going to continue south along the City Hall property, and then we're working with Detroit Edison to improve the intersection lighting at the side streets. So if you notice some low levels and it's kind of dark, we want to make sure that's addressed. We're not putting new lights down the corridor in terms of ornamental or decorative lights, but you'll see the wood pole with what we call like a bracket arm or a Cobra head light coming down. So we're working with Detroit Edison to replace those. But our project is to include the new lights extending across City Hall. LED for the city's lights, I don't know what Edison is proposing. I think they're actually going to LED. It's more cost effective for everybody at this point. Brent?
Yeah. All right, thanks, Chuck. And if there's a particular intersection that you want us to take a closer look at, just we can talk after. The last part that I want to talk about is our project communication. Obviously, we send out a lot of notifications, the end of January about this project. We want everyone to know what's going on ahead of time. I think if it is definitely integral to have a successful project, we need good communication. So I'm here, we got office staff. Any questions you guys have, anytime, feel free to call us or come in. I also wanted to note that we have been in touch with Utica Community Schools. We've had a couple meetings already, and I don't know if there was a representative here today. Mike? Okay, thank you very much for coming, Mike from UCS. And working with them because it's a school route, obviously. We got Stevenson Heritage and Welsh and Davis, so we have impacts that are going to be made to the school. So we appreciate UCS coming on board early and devising their plan and working out with how they're going to work around the construction and work with us with construction as well. So we've been working with UCS. Obviously, PD and FD, we've met very early on to go over their routes and the safety and how this project will impact them. And we've worked out a plan that we think we have minimal impacts as far as PD and FD go. As the project moves along, we're going to provide weekly updates on our website. If you could go to sterling-heights.net, there's an engineering section, and under engineering, there's a construction update. So we have some stuff on there already as far as the project notification, the traffic staging. Eventually, I will put this the scroll that you see here today. I'll put that on the website as well, so you can view it, if you wish. But mainly, as the project goes on, we're going to continually update that website. So if you guys, if you want to know what's going on, just from clicking your mouse, you'll be able to do that. Lastly, I want to say that we'll have to have more communication with the with the people who own property fronting Dodge Park. Chuck touched on mail delivery service, trash service, post office, all that stuff. There will be coordination with the contractor, the post office, where the gangbacks is going to be, things like that. So we open up bids on Friday. We're going to get a contractor secured. Once we hammer out all those details with them, we'll send you guys a notification as to what to expect before we actually get the contractor out there and start digging. Again, Office of Engineering, 586-446-2720. My main number, I got my cards right here with my direct number on it if you want it as well. And at this point, if you have a general question you think everyone would be interested in, be glad to hear them and answer them the best we can. After that, again, we will be here to answer any individual questions you may have. Sir?
Hi.
Hi.
My reason for coming tonight is Stevenson High School. Over the last 15 years, I've had 3 kids go through that school. Mm-hmm. And it's horrible coming out of there. Morning when you drop the kid off, and 10 times worse at night when, 1,000 kids, 2,000 kids are all trying